guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today is Wednesday the 3rd of January and I'm here filming my very own birth story, which is so surreal because I've been wanting to do this for ages. I planned to do this even when I was pregnant. I was like, oh, I can't wait to do a birth story of my own because I watched so many birth story videos and I find them so helpful. Like, I learned about things that I had no idea what was even what. So I'm going to say right now that I'm no midwife, no obstetrician, I think they call them. This is literally my story as it happened. So if this didn't happen to you, or what am I trying to say? If I'm telling the wrong information, basically I'm telling you exactly what happened to me during the birth of baby Heidi. Heidi, oh, she's here. I can't believe it. I can't believe, one, I'm a mum, two, I have a baby, and three, like, I actually had that whole human being growing in my tummy and now she's here. I also will talk a little bit about my first few weeks in motherhood. It's no joke. Literally, everyone says, like, it's going to be really hard. Honestly, the hardest, most challenging thing I have ever done in my entire life, and I am, honestly, I can't even explain. I cry every day. There's been days where I'm like, I actually can't do this anymore. I don't want this to be negative, but honestly, it's been so hard. But yeah, thriving and surviving. Fake it till you make it, Lewis says. Amongst all the difficult and challenging moments, there's been so many amazing ones, which makes it all really worth it. And obviously she's perfect and we love her so much. But yeah, I'm going to crack on with my birth story. Just quickly before I start, I just want to mention the chaos around us. Excuse the mess. I have a newborn baby now, like, that's my excuse. Anyway, let's start. Baby was due the 1st of December, which was a Friday, and then the midwife, so nothing was happening, and then the midwife came on Saturday the 2nd of December, so before I start, had a planned home birth. So at this point, the midwife was coming to the house to do all my antenatal stuff. So she was like, oh, I'll give you a sweep on the 2nd of December, which is a Saturday, if you want one. So she came to the house, gave me the sweep. I was 2 centimeters dilated on the Saturday. So I was like, oh my God, when she said that, was that amazing? So it's uncomfortable getting the sweep. And they basically stick their fingers in, try and get hold of your cervix and pull it forward. I think it's short and soft. Is it? See, this is where I'm not sure, but she was like, your cervix is everything we want it to be. It's all in place. Like, this could be happening. You're 2 centimeters dilated already. Anyway, when she took her hands out and had finished the sweep, I got the most severe cramps ever. I was literally lying on the bed and she was chatting away and I was like, no, I'm not well. Like, I'm in agony. And I was sitting there thinking, has she done something? Because this is how I expect, like, labour contractions. Honestly, I was in so much pain and she was like, don't worry, it'll pass. And then I came downstairs and Lewis was sitting waiting. I was like, holy moly, I am so sore. Anyway, it did pass. But then I was still a bit crampy throughout the rest of the day. And then, so I just like sat on my exercise ball that night and I was like, right, I'm going to sit here, bounce on this, get everything going. And then at 3 a.m. on the Sunday, so that night into the Sunday, I woke up and I was like, oh my God, Lewis, I'm in so much pain. Like, that pain's come back. So he was like rubbing my tummy and rubbing my back, and this went on for 2 hours. And I was like, oh my God, like, the ball's rolling, like, this is happening. And then on the Sunday, when we got up and went about our business, there was no pain. And I was like, oh, that was all like false, like nothing's happening again. So that just went flat. And then I had an appointment. The midwife was coming back to me on the Thursday, but I was like, I was convinced on the Saturday I was having the baby after the sweep. So the midwife came back on the Thursday, which was now the 7th. So I was like 7 was I 6 or 7 days overdue now. And on the Thursday, the midwife came and she was like, oh, I think it's time to talk about induction. But to be induced meant that I'd have to go into hospital and have the baby there. Like, they would induce me there, and it's not like they can get everything rolling and then you can come home. Like, if when you're being induced, you have to stay. And I was like, no, I'm not like entertaining the induction conversation whatsoever. And the midwife was like, I know this is not what you want, but we need to talk about it. And I was like, I'll talk about it on Monday. Like, I'll get through the weekend and then I'll consider things on Monday. And she was like, well, this is kind of your last appointment with me, so I need to book it today. And I was like, no. So she booked me to be induced on the 14th of December. So literally the last day, like, well, she said, like, you can go 14 days overdue and then you can go on for as long as you want. Like, baby will come, but we just don't recommend it because your placenta can, like, calcify, I think, and just not work effectively after 42 weeks. So she was like, I'll book it for the 14th. So booked it and then tried to give me another sweep, but failed. Like, she just could not get hold, because they need to, like, go in, I think, get hold of the cervix, pull it forward, and then give you the sweep. Sorry, so much hand stuff going on. But she couldn't get it. She was like, the baby's head is sitting so low that I can't even, like, grab it. But she never gave me the impression that baby was coming. She was just so apologetic. She was like, I really want to do this for you. Like, I want to get your baby coming. Like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh. So anyway, she left, texted me to say induction was booked on the 14th. And then I spent the whole evening crying. I was like, I just want this baby to come. Like, sitting on my exercise ball, even having my dinner, had spaghetti carbonara for my dinner with garlic bread, and then went to bed. Then woke up at midnight with the most severe heartburn. So this was Thursday night. Oh, well, now Friday, the 8th of December. Woke up at midnight with the most severe heartburn I have ever had in my entire life. Like, I thought my stomach was going to come out my throat. Like, and the garlic bread was all just coming back on me, to the point that I was, like, awake and then sat up with pillows in the bed. And like, they say that heartburn's really common in pregnancy. I hadn't had any heartburn in my whole pregnancy. And I was like, I didn't think anything of it. I just was like, this will just be the garlic bread, like, haunting me. So I was lay awake, and I was, like, to the point that I couldn't get back to sleep. And then at 1:15 in the morning, just, like, floods just opened down below, and I was like, I've just wet myself. But I had puppy pads in underneath me. Yeah, waters just broke. And then I got really crampy. So then I was like, so I woke Lewis at 1:15 and I was like, oh my God, my waters have just broke. And I was honestly could not get off the toilet. This is where it begins. Like, I was literally like, I need to poo. Like, and that went on for 3 hours. So at 4 in the morning, so I was like kind of going to and from bed. I could go back to bed and settle, but I was like, I just really need to keep going to the toilet to poo. Like, I was literally going like every 10 minutes. And sometimes things were coming out, sometimes things weren't, but I was like, oh my God. Just that constant urge to poo. It was so weird. And then at 4 a.m. I went for a bath. I was like, right, I'm getting really sore now. I'm going to go to a bath. This is what I've learned from people's YouTube videos. Like, when things are ramping up, like, go for a bath. I was like, oh, this is really sore. And I was getting really sore like every 20 minutes. And I was like, is this a contraction? Is it not? This is not how I imagine a contraction to be. Like, I thought a contraction would be right around your whole tummy and like really tight, and like, I was just so sore. And then things would get, like, the pain would get worse and then settle again. I got out the bath and then like did a full skincare routine, brushed my hair, brushed my teeth, pleated my hair. Like, I literally was still able to function. And then at 5:30 I woke up Lewis and I was like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. Like, you need to get the midwife here right now. Like, I am in so much pain. So he phoned, because we're planning home birth, he phoned like Inverurie midwives unit, and he was like, right, things are happening, my wife's planning a home birth, like, we need help. And they were like, oh, well, phone back. At this point, the contractions were like, they were so irregular and all over the place, but kind of like maybe 2 every 10 minutes or something. So they were like, phone back when your contractions are 3 every 10 minutes. And then literally 10 to 6, Lewis phoned them back and was like, look, she's getting more than 3 contractions every 10 minutes. Like, things are really happening. And they were like, no worries, tell her to drink plenty of water and we'll get the midwives out to you. So this midwife texted me and was like, hello, oh, like I'm coming from Ballater, I'm on my way, I'll be like over an hour. And I was like, oh, I need to wait an hour. The midwife was coming, but at this point, like I was just sitting on my exercise ball, or I was on the toilet and Lewis was sitting on my exercise ball. So I was sitting on the toilet, like I could not get off the toilet. That is where I wanted to be. That's where I was comfortable. I just needed to be on the toilet the entire time. And then so I was sitting on the toilet and Lewis was sitting on my exercise ball facing me, and I was literally contracting over him. And then at 20 to 9, the midwife came. And at this point when she came in the door, like my exercise ball was on the living room floor and I was on all fours on top of it. So literally my hands were over it onto the floor and my bump was on the exercise ball and then my knees were on the floor. Like I was literally just like planted over it, just like rolling back and forth. She was like, the midwife was like, are you comfortable there? And I was like, as comfortable as I could be. But between that, I was like to the toilet and back, and the midwife was probably like, what is she doing? Like, get off the toilet. Anyway, she had like at this point, like Lewis is blowing up the birthing pool. We've got Home Alone in the background. We've got the Christmas tree on, like all the lights. It was like, I learned all that from my hypnobirthing book. I'll insert a photo of the book actually right here. Even if you think hypnobirthing is not your thing, because I was like, that is, I laughed when the midwife was like, get into hypnobirthing. I was like, no way. Best thing ever. This book will literally, and Lewis read parts of it, which was really helpful. He made notes on his phone. Like we really got into hypnobirthing. Yeah, and then the midwife was like, let me have a feel of your tummy, and she was like, ooh, baby's back to back, so the baby's back is to your back. So she was like, you're in for a really rough ride, like this is going to be tough. And I was like, I'm in so much pain already. Anyway, she gave me a little back massage, little back rub, the midwife. I was like, bless you, you're amazing. Anyway, at this point, she phoned the student nurse who I'd seen in antenatal clinic, and her name and number must have been like on my notes. So it was like, phone her. So she came, which was really nice. It was such a nice familiar face. Student midwife, her name was Emma, turned up, and she was just so lovely. She was with me the entire time. And then Lewis had put all the water and like getting the temperature right and everything of the water for the birthing pool. And then she was like, right, you can get in it now that I've seen you. So I got in it, and I literally, well, I went to the toilet first, and then I got in it and I just sat in it, and it was the most relief I'd ever had. So actually, I'll point out, from 5:30, this was now probably 9 o'clock by the time I got in the birthing pool, 5:30 till 9, I had like, I thought I was gonna have contractions and relax, no pain, and then contract again and then relax. I just I was not pain-free at all. Like I was in agony from 5:30 and now until 9 o'clock. Like I didn't have a break. And she was like, yeah, the baby, that's the baby being back to back. Like I was like, I'm like so sore and it's not going away. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I just didn't expect this. So just so you know. So at 9 o'clock, got in the birthing pool, and I just literally sat in it, and I was like, oh my God, I am pain-free. Like everything just went away, and I just sat there, Home Alone still on, and I was like, this is amazing, amazing. And she was like, oh, like we expect this, like everything slows down when you get in the pool. And I was like, oh, I was doing so well. Like I was like, baby must be literally around the corner, because the pain was so awful. And then I got in the pool and nothing happened. I was like, and she was like, yeah, things slowed down. I was like, oh no, like I thought I was really getting somewhere. Sat there for 10 minutes and I was fooled. It all came back like with a vengeance. Like I was in so much pain, it all ramped up again. And I was like, I really need gas and air. And they were like, no, it's too soon for gas and air. Like you could go on for hours, and we've only got 2. You can only have limited gas and air at home. So I only had 2 tanks of like small tanks of Entinox, which is your gas and air. And she's like, it's too soon. Like I don't want you to have it just yet and then not have any for the end. And I was like, oh my God. I'm gonna actually point out here as well, I never had a mucus plug that I was aware of. Like I never remember losing it. Like they say that you can lose it in early stages of labor. They say that like you can lose it like days before you go into labor, or you can lose your mucus plug like throughout labor. But I never saw mine, don't know what happened to it. Just before 11 o'clock, the midwife was like, right, everything's ramped up, like we're going for it here. Like, let's see where the baby's head is. And like at this point I had no examinations, and I thought they would be like happen all the time. I thought the midwife would always want to have a good feel, but literally this was the first time she'd mentioned it. So she was like, let's get you out of the pool to do the examination. And I stood up and I was just in severe pain. And I was like, I need the toilet. And the midwife was like, oh, like, honestly, she must have been so sick of me. I was like, I just need to keep going to the toilet. So when I stood up, I was like, I'm going for a poo. And she was like, yeah, like, go and try and see if you need to go. And I sat on the toilet and I just had the urge to push. I was like, started pushing on the toilet, and midwife was like, no, 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 let's get you back. Like, let's get back in the pool. We don't need to do the examination if the like baby's coming. So got back in the pool, and I was like, how long am I doing this for? And she was like, people normally push for an hour. I was like, an hour? I'm not doing this for an hour. Lewis said at one point I was screaming like, I want a C-section, which is cringe. Still no gas and air, so now I'm pushing. I've not had any gas and air, and I was like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, if I'm doing this for an hour, surely we've got gas and air for an hour, like an hour supply. So got gas and air, but it was so hard to use. Like, I would literally take in what I think you're meant to like breathe it in and breathe it out, like I think. Are you? But I couldn't. Like, I would literally take one breath in, like, and then like push. So I wasn't really using the gas and air. I could not use it properly because, like, I feel like, and like a lot of people say it makes you really nauseous. It didn't make me nauseous, but then I wasn't really using it properly, and it makes your head go all funny as well. I've heard that as well. I didn't have any of that. I just feel like I wasn't using it properly. But I couldn't really use it because I was like trying to push, and you can't like breathe in the tube and push at the same time. And then at this point, like, I was like leaning over the side of the pool, like my knees were in the bottom of the pool, but my hands were over the pool, like touching the floor. And I was pushing. I was like, the baby's coming out my bum, and the midwife was like, no, it's not. And I was like, it is, like, it's right there. But Lewis kept saying sit up. So like when I was getting the contraction, I was like pushing, but like Lewis was like sit up, so I wasn't like leaning over. I was like then sitting just on my knees, and that helped so much. Lewis kept saying like sit up, like sit up, and I was like, every time I sat up, like I could really feel stuff happening. And also the midwife said to me, at the pushing at the end, I would push, then relax and have no pain and like settle before the next contraction. And that did happen, because I hadn't had that the whole of my labour. I was just like constantly one contraction after the other. But now that I'm pushing and baby was literally coming out, I was like pushing and then had a total relax. And then I could catch my breath, I could even speak, I could open my eyes, I could take the gas and air, but I didn't need it because I was totally pain-free in between the contractions. And then I would like push again. And then like the pushing stage for me wasn't really that sore. I remember the contractions being the worst, but like when the head's coming out, it's like, that's like a burning feeling, like everything's like burning and stretched. Like I remember, like, but it wasn't like unbearable pain. So at this point, like between those contractions, I could like actually open my eyes, and I was looking around, and my mum was there. I actually forgot to say my mum was there the entire time. I opened my eyes, and literally Lewis and my mum were like bawling their eyes out, crying. I was like, what's going on? I was like, why are you all crying? And mum was like, this is so distressing for me. Like your screaming is so distressing. And Lewis was like, she's so nearly here. Like, you can do this. Like, totally like, oh, I could not have done it without Lewis. He was just so good. Anyway, her head finally came out. Well, the thing is with the head, like you push so much, and if you don't get the head out, the head kind of pops back in again, and you've gone to all the hard work to like push her right down, and then because she's not made it fully out, like she would come back up, and it was just so destroying. And then after 3 times of that, I was like, no, again, like I'm doing this. So I was like pushing, so I took in a big deep breath, pushed through the contraction, but the contraction went, but I was like, I'm still gonna keep pushing. So it just kept going, and finally her head came out. And like I thought I'd feel so much relief, but I didn't really, to be honest. But obviously her entire body was still in. And then just before my last, so this was at 11:41, and just at my last contraction, I felt it coming on. I was like, guys, this is it. She's here. And then I just pushed, and then she was literally here 11:42. It was quick labor, to be honest. It was just the most magical thing ever. Well, like, everyone was like, oh, labor is like the most magical thing on earth. No, I didn't really feel that. I felt like the pushing was like amazing, and then to like hold her for the first time and have her here, and like all the emotions in the room and the buzz, the vibe in the room was so good. I was like, oh my god, she's actually here. Best feeling ever. And to do it all in your own home is incredible.
It's nothing new, but it's so good to see you. We do this every day, and I'm still so amazed by you. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two, me and you. Oh, oh, I can't believe you love me. Oh, oh, I just feel so lucky. Oh, still can't believe you love me. I hope it never ends. This being more than friends. Yeah. You know I'm here to stay every single day. Yeah.
So that's kind of where all the like positive vibes end, to be honest. They asked me, they were like, do you want the injection for the placenta? I was like, yeah, like let's just get this out, like let's get on with life. Like our plan was to like have the baby in the pool, get out, get rid of the placenta. Yeah, the plan was to like give birth, shower, go to bed and get Domino's. Like that was literally what I'd imagined the whole time. But the placenta had other ideas. And she was like, how's the cramping? And I was like, still no cramps, like I'm feeling good. And she was like, oh. So she was like, let's get you out of the pool onto the sofa. So I've got like clamps and cords and everything hanging down below me. And then they were kind of like tugging. I was like, oh my god, that's actually really sore. So the student tried, so Emma tried, the midwife tried, and then they got the other midwife in to try, and they were like, this isn't coming away. And then at 1 o'clock, they were like, we need to get you to hospital, like we need this placenta out. And I was like, oh, I've just done all this and now I need to go to hospital. And I was like, it'll be a quick in, quick out visit. And she was like, oh no, you'll need to go to theatre to get it out. Like you'll need like an epidural. And I was like, I've just pushed a baby out. We're nearly next to no gas and air and you want to numb me now? I was like, oh my god. So anyway, an ambulance was called and they were like, it could be up to 4 hours. And I was like, well, I'm actually fine with that because I'm comfortable. I'm having newborn cuddles. I've got my mum and Lewis here. My sister did pop in as well. And we actually still ordered the Domino's. It was about half two. I was like, oh my god, the placenta's arrived. Guys, like, come on. And then the midwife came and they were like, oh no, it was literally a clot, like a massive clot, like this size. And then I just started pouring after that. Like there was no stopping. Like it just, we were filling pads in it. I was so conscious because I was sitting on my mum's sofa and my mum had like sofa covers, like blankets on, like so the cat can't rip up her sofa. And then on top of that, we just had these little puppy pads. I was just like wary that how much I was bleeding. I was like, I could leak through and absolutely ruin my mum's pale blue fabric sofas. It was just a murder scene, like blood everywhere. And they were like, we need an emergency ambulance now. So they came within half an hour, blue light, everything, and we're like let's get you going. And as we were approaching the hospital, I was like to the midwife, because the midwife came with me and then obviously the 2 ambulance crew, and I was just holding Heidi at the same time, like on this ambulance stretcher. And I was like, I just really don't feel well. I was like, things are happening down there. And then they checked my blood pressure and heart rate, and then the midwife was like, can you get the blue lights on, like we need to go. And at that point I was like, oh my god, like I was panicking. I was holding this like little baby that I didn't know what to do with. It was so tiny. Yeah, so quickly, Heidi was born at 11:42, weighing 8 pounds 2. So I was so proud of that, like a big chunky baby that I grew all by myself. It was amazing. Yeah, I got consented for theatre, got a massive grey thick cannula in my hand. I was like, as if I've not been through enough, you've then stuck a grey cannula in my hand, like there's no need. Consented me for theatre and was like, basically we're going to stick a needle in your spine, numb you from like the waist down, go in and grab the placenta, and then if there's any stitching needed, like we'll stitch you up, and if you need a blood transfusion, are you happy for that? And I was like, absolutely, like can I go home today? And they were like, no. Like you're not really going to be able to walk until the evening because you're going to be all numbed and stuff. So went to theatre. I was such a dick in theatre. I was like what they were like squeezing, they had like a bag of fluids in a pressure bag. Well, whilst someone was getting the pressure bag, they were like squeezing the fluids into me. The pain in my hand, and then the pressure bag was like getting constantly pumped up. Honestly, the pain from that going into the cannula was awful. Getting the spinal was sore. Like I don't know what they do, but I was like getting electric shocks down my legs, and I was honestly screaming. I was crying. Then this big doctor came and was like, I'm just going to go in and get the placenta out, stitch you up. I was like, fine, like whatever, you do you. I was in for like an hour and a half, and I honestly was so distressed from not feeling my legs, but you can still feel stuff, like whatever they were doing. I was like, that's sore, like I can still feel like uncomfortable. But I got 1-to-1, so I had one midwife looking after me the entire time. So I was her only patient. And then I was getting 15-minute observations and pad checks from 6 p.m. when I got out of theatre all the way until 1 a.m. So I was literally like so well taken care of. Yeah, like really positive hospital experience. And my home birth was just amazing. Like to be able to birth at home was just incredible. I just feel like some people doubted me, or like some people doubted the home birth thing. And it was actually amazing, and I would recommend, and I would definitely do it again. This is where it just gets really hard. Like I was trying to breastfeed and I was so desperate to do it. Like so many people say, don't put pressure on yourself, or some people are like, if it doesn't work for me, it's fine. Like I'm not, I was bothered. Like I really wanted to do it. So was constantly putting her on, and like she was just screaming all the time, and I was like, this just isn't normal. Like, is she hungry? She's not really feeding. The midwife came the next day and was like, oh, she's like lost some weight, but like not too much, but we're expecting her to have a good feed already. I was like, well, she's not fed at all, and we've just been giving her some colostrum from the syringes, because I expressed so much colostrum from 38 weeks. And they were like, oh no, like we need her to be having a proper feed. I was like, well, it's now day 3 and this baby's not being fed. And they were like, maybe top up with like 10 mils of formula. So Lewis went out and bought formula, and then I was trying to breastfeed. No one in the house was sleeping. Like my mum had to come and help. Like day 3 was the worst day or worst night of my entire life. Like I think I'll probably cry talking about it. It was just terrible. So terrible. Just because she was just so unsettled and starving. I was like, oh my god, like. And then the next day the midwife came back and she's like, right, like baby's not feeding, like what are we doing? And I was like, what are we doing? And like me, my mum, the midwife, Emma was there again. Like Emma, the student midwife, like she'd come to this appointment, like she'd come to my house again, so she was there for like the postnatal bit as well. And we were like all just trying to make a decision what we were going to do about feeding, because I was like, I'm not giving up this breastfeeding, but I was so ready to give up. And Lewis was like, don't give it up if you don't want to do it, like we're all behind you. And the midwife was like, yeah, we're all behind you if you want this to happen, like we're all going to make this happen for you, which is amazing. Lewis was like, why don't we just try for a couple more days, keep her on the breast, like top up with formula. And then at this point we were like, my mum had asked a good question, like how much is she meant to be feeding? And the midwife was like, about 60 to 90 mils of milk every 3 hours. And we all just looked at each other and was like, well, that's not happening. Like, this baby hasn't even had a good feed and we're probably on day 5 now. Like, it was crazy. And then they put her on the scales and she'd lost even more weight. And we were like, no one's sleeping in this house. I wasn't eating. Like, I was literally having a sip of water. I'd eaten a banana in 4 to 8 hours. Like, I was so ill. Like, I was so unwell. And hadn't slept for like 4 or 5 days because the baby hadn't slept because she was starving. And then when they put her on the scales and she'd lost weight, I was like, we're going through all this horrible, horrible time and she's losing weight. Like, this isn't working, it's failing. So we all decided we're going to formula feed through a bottle. Best decision I've ever made. It's been so hard and so challenging, but so amazing. Like, me and Heidi just had such a lovely feed, which I needed before making this video. And yeah, like, we're not struggling with the feeding because she's taking the bottle, but she's just in so much pain with the colic after it. Yeah, just a few things to mention. Someone asked over on YouTube what happened with the pool after it. Lewis had, like, we had all these pipes and everything, so Lewis literally drained it. Like, you put like a pump in the pool, attach it to a hose, I think, and then he put it out down a drain in my mum's driveway. My mum was like, if that's not going down the drain, it's going to look like a massive murder scene on my driveway. But it did, it went down the drain. So Lewis just had to, and it had a liner in it. The pool had a liner, so drained all the water out and just wiped it down because the liner, so we took the liner out, binned it, and then wiped down the pool. So yeah, really easy to use. People had mentioned, like, your first pee and your first poo are absolutely horrendous. Neither were sore for me. Neither were sore. I went and did my first pee, no pain. Did my first poo the day after I'd given birth. I don't know how there was anything left in me to poo, but did my first poo, no pain either. I'd heard that. Spritz for Bits, the midwife expert midwife Spritz for Bits, that spray down below is really good as well. Still bleeding, I'm kind of nearly 4 weeks, so still bleeding, still wearing maternity pads, but nothing too heavy, still wearing breast pads, even 4 weeks later. Been 4 weeks basically now, well, probably 3 weeks now that I've not breastfed and still leaking. But yeah, that's it. That's my birth story. I probably have missed out so much. I hope it's been really positive or like really relatable. But yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. The midwife did say to me, it's really common in girls that birth in the pool with no intervention to have placenta problems. And then the lady at infant feeding said that all my placenta issues could give me all the trouble I've had with the breastfeeding, like the lack of skin to skin, having to go to theatre, all that stuff can really affect the breastfeeding. So don't be put off by my breastfeeding story because it's really magical. And would I try it again? I don't know. But yeah, if you stuck around for this whole video, then thank you very much. I've just rambled for ages. I hope it's been really positive. I've really so excited to film this video for ages. I feel like it is a bit late. Like, I'm now nearly 4 weeks postpartum and I'm just getting around to filming this. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Yeah, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.